Hi guys, this is Dante with the Drive and Thrive, and I'd like to briefly discuss the scathing article that the Denver Post released tonight. The title of the article is Studies Are Increasingly Clear. Uber, Lyft, Congest Cities. Now, it's the Denver Post, and the article is really hard on Uber and their claims that their rideshare services will decrease congestion in cities. But what really got to me was that it was trending on Facebook. And that is a terrible sign for Uber. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, an Ubereats driver shot a customer. I don't know if the customer died. Maybe the customer died. I'm not sure. And today, wow. Let me read you guys a little bit of this article. So the article says, one promise of ride-hailing companies like Uber and Lyft was fewer cars clogging city streets. But studies suggest the opposite, that ride-hailing companies are pulling riders off buses, subways, bicycles, and their own feet and putting them in cars instead. And this is why I think that this might be a big deal for Uber, and it potentially hurt them and hurt us as drivers. City revenue matters a lot to these legislators and these city governments. I mean, when taxi employees come to the city and they complain, it's easy for the city council people to say, whip and buggy manufacturers, they went out of work too. This is progress. You can't stop progress. What you can do is go work for Uber, right? I mean, anyone can. All right, they can do that. But once they start to look at their budgets and see smaller and smaller amounts, and they start looking for reasons why, and they come around to Uber, well, city governments have allowed Uber to escape on a ton of stuff. They don't require the same regulations as the taxi cab drivers. They don't require that the drivers go through intense scrutiny. And you know what? I understand. But the thing is, a couple of weeks ago, an Uber Eats driver murdered someone, potentially. I don't know. He shot him at least. And now it may turn out that they are increasing congestion and not decreasing it. Now, I will say this about the article. Towards the end, and this is the city that I live in, Seattle, Washington, by the way. The article said, at least one study did not pin increased congestion on hailing services. Seattle-based firm Enrix scoured data from 2012 to 2015. And the amount of cars on the road were either the same or they decreased a little bit. So that's a positive sign that not all cities have seen an increase in congestion. And the other thing is simply because it's hard, so you can find a correlation between Uber and Lyft and congestion increasing in those cities. But it's hard to say whether or not there's causation behind those two things. Because as this article noted, and this is towards the end, this is after the entire article was just torching Uber. It said that they saw a surge in road construction and delivery trucks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, there could be a variety of reasons. One is simply overpopulation. But I do believe that Uber and Lyft in the future, they will have an impact on individuals purchasing vehicles. And if that happens, well, I think, if you think this thing out logically, you would assume that traffic congestions would decrease if car ownership was down. But, they haven't been around very long. You know, and a lot of people in the cities, they do own cars. Some people own 2, 3 cars, even though they don't need it in the big cities. So um, the time frame in which you would see a big drop off just hasn't happened yet. I don't think that Uber and Lyft has had enough time in order to see those decreases come. But I think if you give them enough time, you will see those decreases come. But the reason I wanted to make a video on this specifically was you know, at some point, we are going to have to face a realization that companies like Uber and Doordash and Postmates, but also Lyft and the ride sharing services are going to have a dramatic effect on society. Dramatic. And I think us as individuals, so obviously us who work for them, but also those who use their services. I don't know if we've been weighing the pros and the cons of this thing. I don't know if we've been considering, okay, well, if self-driving autonomous cars arrive, that's going to put a ton of people out of business. And are we prepared to transition to a different form of economy, right? I don't think we've thought that through. Legislators have not thought that through. And it's something that, well, it's time to get that conversation going, right? Because on a whole, I think that Uber and Lyft, they're a positive for the community. They're some of these writers said that, well, it's easier for me not to wait 10 or 15 minutes for a bus when I can just call an Uber and it'll be there in 3 minutes and it'll take me directly to where I have to go. It's safer, too, for a lot of female writers. It's safer because they don't want to stand out in the middle of nowhere by a bus stop in the middle of the night, waiting minutes at a time. So, anyway, that's a little aside, but I think that the net benefit outweighs the detriment, but I think that we have to address the detriments too. That means that we need to start planning on how to design our cities to accommodate these rideshare companies. You know, me being a Doordash Ubereats driver, I wish that we were all given commercial parking permits. I don't think it's fair for us to have to sometimes risk getting parking tickets. You know, I've gotten $300 worth of parking tickets since I've been driving, and they're all my fault. I didn't have to do it, but if I was going to do my job efficiently and effectively, those parking tickets come with it. So, which is saying something, you know. I guess I don't need to be that efficient, but no, the parking tickets come with it. So I think city planners should, you know, say, hey, these drivers can park in these certain spaces. Treat us like commercial vehicles, because that's what we are, right? But by the same rate, and this is sort of shooting us in the foot, I think, a little bit, I think they should require us to have a bit more training. For the Uber drivers, I think that the Uber drivers should have to pass something on the level that the taxi cab drivers had to pass. And there's a variety of reasons for that, by the way. I mean, there's public safety reasons for that. But I do understand that now with Google Maps, etc., you don't need to know every city street like the back of your hand. But there are lots of public safety reasons why you should go through like a thorough exam and training. Like, how do you deal with escalated passengers, for example? So taxi cab drivers in big cities like Chicago and New York, they have bulletproof shields. that protect them from being harmed. But the Uber and Lyft drivers here in Seattle, they don't have anything. So there was the case of I think it was a 15-year-old girl. She got out of like Walmart or something, and she bought a machete. And so she calls a Uber. The Uber driver comes pick her up. She has a machete. She takes the machete out of the thing. The driver's driving. She starts to slice and stab the driver for no reason. Simply, I guess, because she wanted to use the knife. I don't know. That sort of thing wouldn't happen if the vehicles had some sort of barrier between the driver and the passenger, like taxi cabs do in a lot of places. And I say all of that because I think that as riders, we need to be safe. We need to be protected. As drivers, the drivers need to be protected. They need to be safe. We all need to make this transition as seamless as possible, as painless as we possibly can. I feel like there's a rush by everybody just to do things as fast as possible. You know, the companies like Uber, they want to just push everything out as fast as they can, They want to make as much money as they can. You know, there's no like, all right, let's pause for a second and figure out how to do this in the safest way we possibly can. So, I say all of that. Let me go back to this article, because this article presents a big challenge for Uber and Lyft, because if this turns out to be true, it kind of takes a huge blow out of their main argument in some of these cities where the taxi cab unions are fighting hard to impose some of these same restrictions on Uber. I think it's a good thing. I think Uber should be proactive in these things. So instead of fighting, delaying, and turning the public opinion against you, I think it might be smart to cave on some of these things, or preemptively be proactive and say, oh, look, by the way, I see this is occurring. Let's do that. We're going to take these measures. So when they come to some of these city governments and they're trying to, you know, you got to give, it's a give and take on some of these things. Now, I worry that some of these city governments are going to start turning on Uber. And if they turn on Uber, a lot of us are out of jobs. You know, if they turn on Doordash, if they turn on Postmates, I mean, we'd be out of a nice little income stream that's almost like free money, you know. So it's a great gig, right? So I don't know. I'm just putting this out there, just to inform whoever may watch this that yeah, man, there's been tons of bad press for Uber, and I think that they should turn this thing around somehow. I think that they need to be proactive and really start to turn around public opinion to their side, because I'm rooting for Uber. I want Uber to succeed really badly up until they automate their cars and they don't let me work for them anymore. But until then, I wish Uber the best of luck. So anyway, this is Dante with Drive and Thrive. Oh, if you like these videos and you want to see more, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.